The glowing object shimmering above Saturn's rings was never supposed to be there. Yet as NASA's telescopes and deep space observation stations kept tracking it, the mystery deepened with every passing moment because the glow wasn't steady. Like a star, nor was it the natural flickering of distant cosmic bodies. It pulsed, rhythmically, almost as if it were alive. Like a heartbeat echoing across the silent vacuum of space, sending waves of curiosity, fear, and wonder through the scientists who watched in disbelief. And the first unsettling question that rose was whether this object was a natural formation, or something artificial, something designed, something intentionally placed where no human hand had ever reached. And the more they observed, the more bizarre it seemed, because Saturn's majestic rings, which are made up of billions of icy particles and fragments of rock, had always appeared as a perfect, natural, celestial wonder. Yet now this glowing anomaly cast shadows across the rings. Shadows that didn't make sense, bending light in strange ways as if space itself was being manipulated. And while the official reports used cautious language, unidentified luminous anomaly, the internal chatter at NASA was filled with unspoken dread, because the glow seemed to respond when the telescopes focused on it, almost as though it knew it was being watched, flickering brighter at times, then fading, then returning again in perfect rhythm. And that rhythm, when recorded and analyzed, turned out to match not only the human heartbeat, but also certain frequency patterns used in deep space communication, which led to a chilling possibility. Was this object not just a random glowing mass, but a message, a beacon, or worse, a signal waiting for a response? And as scientists debated, one unsettling thought kept coming back to them. If it was a message, then who had left it there? Why above Saturn? And how long had it been waiting to be discovered? Because Saturn is vast, its rings stretching thousands of kilometers. Yet, this object had remained hidden, invisible to decades of observations, only appearing now, glowing against the blackness of space like a lantern in the void. And the timing itself felt deliberate, as if the universe was revealing this secret only when humanity had reached a certain level of awareness. Or perhaps when it was too late to turn back, and deep within the data logs, buried beneath technical jargon and cautious reports, there was a line that stood out, an astronomer's handwritten note scanned into the system. It looks alive. And though no one dared to say it publicly, everyone who stared at the glowing anomaly through the magnified telescope screens felt the same thing. That they were not just looking at an object, but at something watching back, something ancient, intelligent, and patient, resting above Saturn's rings in silence, as though it had been waiting for humanity to notice. And when it did, the glow began to change, growing brighter, more intense. Not spreading outward, but pulsing inward, like a tunnel of light folding into itself. And then, shockingly, faint streaks of smaller glowing fragments began to break away, moving through the rings of Saturn without disturbing them, weaving between the icy particles as if guided by precision, like scouts or drones, tiny sparks exploring the environment. And their movements weren't random, they aligned, forming geometric patterns, sacred like symbols that matched ancient carvings found in Earth's oldest civilizations, from Mesopotamian tablets to Egyptian walls, even to the mysterious Nazca lines etched across the deserts of Peru. And when researchers overlaid the glowing patterns with these ancient symbols, the match was undeniable, leaving everyone with one terrifying conclusion. This object, whatever it was, had been here before, visiting Earth in ages long past, its memory preserved in myths, religions, and sacred texts, only now revealing itself again in the skies above Saturn. And as the glow intensified, strange disruptions began to occur on Earth, not massive disasters, but subtle anomalies, compasses spinning wildly, communication satellites picking up unknown signals, strange bursts of radio waves at night that no known transmitter could produce, and even ordinary people far from NASA began reporting strange dreams. Dreams filled with rings of light, towering figures, and a glowing orb suspended in the sky, as though the object's presence was leaking into human consciousness, crossing the barrier between space and mind, and while skeptics tried to dismiss it as coincidence, the frequency of these reports was too high, too widespread, coming from people who had no connection to NASA or astronomy, yet describing the same visions, the same glowing sphere, the same symbols, which suggested that the object wasn't just visible above Saturn, but somehow connected to Earth in a way no one could explain. And perhaps the most unsettling evidence came from the Cassini spacecraft's archived recordings, long thought to be fully analyzed, yet when re-examined after this discovery, deep within the static of its final transmissions, a faint, rhythmic pulse was found, identical to the glowing object's heartbeat-like flicker, as if Cassini had seen this anomaly before its destruction, but couldn't transmit the full image, leaving behind only fragments of sound like a warning, ignored for years until now. And when this revelation surfaced, scientists realized the chilling truth. The object might not have just appeared above Saturn recently. It may have always been there, cloaked, invisible, hiding until the right time, and the fact that it chose now to reveal itself was what terrified them most, because time and timing are everything in the universe, and if this was intentional, then humanity was part of a script it didn't write. A story unfolding far beyond its control, and the glowing orb continued to shift, growing brighter as though feeding on attention, its pulse syncing not just with telescopes, but with the very rhythm of Earth itself, making some wonder if Saturn's rings were not just a natural formation, but a kind of cosmic stage, a boundary, marker, or even a prison holding back something beyond comprehension. And as this thought spread, one question echoed louder than all others. Was the glowing object a guardian, a messenger, or a warning? And if it was a warning, then what was it warning us about? That was the terrifying question that echoed not only inside the walls of NASA, but also in the secret military briefings, in late-night phone calls between world leaders, and in the restless minds of those who dared to stare at the glowing anomaly for too long. Because the deeper they looked, the stranger the signs became, as though the object wasn't merely showing itself, but slowly pulling humanity into its orbit, into its secret. And researchers soon noticed that the pulsating light was not just a random beacon. It carried information, a coded frequency hidden inside the flickering glow, one that repeated every few hours, but when decoded, it was not a language in words or numbers. It was an image, or more accurately, a map, a shifting star map pointing not to Saturn but to Earth. More precisely to a specific region of Earth's surface, the deserts of northern Africa, were long forgotten. Pyramids, buried under the sands, were believed to predate even ancient Egypt. And this revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community because it meant the glowing object wasn't just connected to human history, it might have shaped it, influencing civilizations, guiding them to build structures that mirrored the stars, structures that aligned with the object's pulsing geometry. And now that connection was awakening again, as though humanity had reached the next stage of a test, a stage that civilizations before might have failed, their traces left behind in ruins, myths and warnings carved into stone. And while some scientists whispered about communication, others were consumed by fear, because if the object was sending a message, then it also meant it was expecting one in return. And the last time Earth had ignored such signals, if ancient legends were true, the consequences were catastrophic, with entire empires vanishing overnight, leaving behind only fragmented stories of gods descending from the sky in glowing chariots, stories that now seemed less like fantasy and more like memory, resurfacing in the light above Saturn's rings. And as the glowing orb pulsed stronger, disturbances on Earth grew harder to ignore, with unexplained blackouts in major cities, mysterious electromagnetic waves disrupting power grids, and even the Schumann resonance, the natural frequency of Earth itself shifting in ways no scientist could explain, as though the very heartbeat of the planet was being altered by the object's presence. Syncing with its pulse, and in remote corners of the world, people began gathering, drawn by dreams and visions to sacred sites, claiming they felt a call from the sky, a pull they couldn't resist, whispering the same phrase again and again. The messenger has returned. And while governments scrambled to contain panic, the truth was impossible to bury because the anomaly's glow grew brighter each night. Visible even to amateur astronomers with backyard telescopes, its presence undeniable.